Hey guys, good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome to my Monday coffee chat. Today I'm chatting with Cindy. She is the owner of Looking at Life with Justin. On that's the name of her Instagram account. So hi, come on in. We're gonna talk about food today, food and cooking. So, Cindy, come on in. I see you, Cindy. Just ask to be. Okay, I'm gonna see. Uh-oh, she's unable to join. Why is that? Cindy! How is everyone doing? So, Justin is, I think, Cindy's son is 17. And I'm going to ask her. So, hopefully, I can. Cindy has never done Instagram Live before, so just be patient. Okay, Cindy, I'm ready for you. So see if you can request to. Hi, Anita. How is it going? Anita, do you cook with your little one? Anita has a little boy. Hi, Miss Halim. Oh, there we go. Yay. Life with Cindy. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
Oh, yeah, we did it. Oh my gosh. It's like I always get a heart attack like the first couple of minutes because, you know, technical difficulties.
Well, of course, of course. And I tried hooking up to my computer, and I think that's where I couldn't find a place to hook up. So now I'm on my
Right.
phone, so it works.
Okay, there you go. Hi, how are you? How's your Monday?
Hello. It's good. It's good. I just dropped Justin off not long ago at day program, so
Uh-huh.
that's where he
Uh-huh.
is. So
Okay,
Mondays are
that's
usually
great.
my days to concentrate on
To
myself, I guess.
Yeah, and talk to friends.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, Cindy, so let's introduce you and your
Okay.
Instagram account and Facebook account. I enjoy both, by the way. So go
Oh,
ahead and
thank you.
tell people. Yeah, tell people.
Okay, my name is Cindy Alves. I'm from Ontario, Canada, and my son is Justin, and he's 16 years old right now. He was diagnosed with autism at 18 months, and then a few years later, he got dual diagnosis of autism, ADHD. So
Mm.
he's always been a very busy boy. What I
Mm-hmm.
used to think many years ago was, the ADHD diagnosis. I sometimes wonder now if it's sensory processing.
Right.
Um, because, we have tried different medications for the ADHD and
Mm-hmm.
nothing quite helped.
Okay.
And now that I look at the challenges of sensory processing, and
Yes.
he's more into that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I can
Yeah,
talk a little bit about that because I have that sensory processing
yeah.
disorder. So,
Hmm.
uh, but anyways, I always say to the parents that I work with that cooking and baking is such an incredible skill and just a vehicle for our
Yes.
kids of all ages to really develop the mindfulness and decision making because they like to
Hmm.
eat the outcome, they like to eat the end
Yeah,
results, hopefully, right?
yeah.
So it's motivating for them, and it's also an opportunity for them to push through their sensory issues. So
Hmm.
my son is very sensory defensive, but
Hmm.
when he bakes, he's more likely to touch things, wipe things, because it's
Yeah,
part of the process.
of course.
So how do you see cooking and baking as vehicles to help Justin like learn overall?
So it's been a long process.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, he's 15. So when he was
Mm-hmm.
younger,
Mm-hmm.
even to attempt to go into a grocery store,
Mm-hmm.
we couldn't even get through automatic doors.
Yeah.
So the
Oh.
opening and closing of the doors,
Mm-hmm.
I believe now that, I'm more experienced, that it was just sensory defensiveness, right?
Right,
So,
right.
as we know, going from one atmosphere of the parking lot into a grocery store
Mm-hmm.
is really overwhelming. And
Yeah,
when he was little, he didn't have, I mean, he's limited verbally, but that doesn't mean, he can't
right,
communicate.
right.
Key behavior is communication. So,
That's right.
he would drop, or if he was in the buggy, he would,
Right,
protest.
right.
I wish I had known then what I know now,
Mm-hmm.
um, because at that time he didn't wear ear defenders, and
Mm-hmm.
now he wears them all the time,
Yeah, right.
and that has helped him tremendously. So,
Yeah.
the big hurdle of going through the grocery store, even getting through the doors, was something we
Mm-hmm.
had worked on for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, it's amazing to see how
Mm-hmm.
much he loves to go grocery shopping.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So for
Okay.
us, it's no,
Yeah.
sorry,
So
go ahead.
sorry, Cindy, can I just recap for the parents? Because you say
Sure.
a lot of good things there. So what
Yeah.
you were saying, when Justin was little, he couldn't really communicate to you in a way that you could understand. Hey, mom, wait, give me a second here. I need time
Yeah.
to transition from the car to the store. So his
Yeah.
behaviors were his way of telling you that, right? And eventually you understood that, right? So
Yeah.
for for the parents of young kids here, when you're going somewhere and your kid seems restless or they don't want to get out of the car, that's their way of
Mhm.
telling you, okay, hang on, I need a moment to regroup. And
Yeah.
that's really important for us to give them that moment. And
Yeah.
secondly, you found tools that Justin have learned to use to help him just be less afraid being out in the world,
Yeah.
which is the ear defenders. So that's really
Mhm.
important. I have a few clients that they need it because I
Yeah.
could see that it's painful when they're in the kitchen and pots
Yeah.
and pans banging, but they can't
Mhm.
use the ear defenders or noise blocking,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
it's good that you were able to convince Justin that, hey, this is a tool that would really, really help you. Uh,
Yeah.
so for all the parents here, even if your kids are little, practice that. Maybe practice as a family to use some kind of, noise canceling tool because it will pay off in the long run, I think, you know?
Yeah, and it's specific to every child. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember when he was younger, and some OTs were saying, don't get him used to it.
Mm.
And I was like, I don't want my child on the floor in a meltdown,
Yeah.
because it's painful, and I could
Yeah.
physically see it on his face. So I
Yeah.
honestly, I went against OT,
Right. Good for
what
you.
their request was, and he wears his headphones every day, all
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
He's now
Mm-hmm.
choosing, now that he's 16, to put them on and off when he wants
Mm-hmm.
to.
Yeah.
But when he was younger,
Mm-hmm.
I remember putting the ear defenders when we first started using them, and I took
Mm-hmm.
a picture of him. And we were at a breakfast for Santa,
Yeah.
and he took them off when he saw the picture. And I thought,
Oh, that's interesting.
okay, he's
Uh-huh.
realizing he is different, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he didn't put them back on. And then what I did was I wrote a social story for him.
Uh-huh.
And we're very open about him having autism, being
Right.
autistic. We have been from a young age for him,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm very proactive in explaining to him
Mm-hmm.
why he's doing things. And so
Mm-hmm.
I just explained, you are wearing headphones because things are very
Mm-hmm.
loud for you. And if you wear your headphones, then you're able to,
Mm-hmm.
at that
Yeah.
time he was in school, you're
Mm-hmm.
able to stay in assemblies longer. You're
Mm-hmm.
able to do more things with your
Mm-hmm.
friends if you want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And from that social story, he started
Yeah.
wearing them again.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So all he
amazing.
needed was an explanation.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I love about your social media account, Cindy, I think they're very special because it's a positive group for parents
Yes.
and actually professional. And that says a lot about you and Justin and how open you guys are and how you're there to inspire other people through your photos and videos and your stories. That's the way you can influence people of all kinds.
Yeah.
So for people who are here, whether you're parents or clinicians or therapists, make sure you follow Cindy because I think as adults, of course, we are more experienced in life, hopefully,
Mhm. Yeah.
as neurotypical or a neurodivergent, or maybe a little bit of both. But I
Mhm.
think that's the way that we can use our stories to help other people. I think that's what I love about your what you post. I think that you know, I always direct people to, because it's not easy to find positive places close. Instagram is,
I
you know how it is, you know.
know.
So I really love what you've done. So thank you for
Yeah.
doing that.
Thank
You
you.
know, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and sorry, for me, just to touch on the positive based page that I do
right.
run, it's called Looking at Life Through a Different Lens.
Mm-hmm.
And lens with an E because it's spelled differently. The page was
Mm-hmm.
taken by somebody else, a photographer. And
Right.
I thought, different lens. It is a different lens. I see
Right.
differently than him, and he
Right.
sees differently than me. So that's why I came up with that name.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Our IG is Looking at Life with Justin. So I kind of branched out this
Mm-hmm.
way to kind of cover more ground. And
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make it a positive based page, mainly because, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, it's a lot of negativity.
A lot.
You
Yes.
know, and I want to concentrate on the good things. We have,
Yeah.
we were in crisis in February. I will be
Right.
honest. So
Right.
we have had a lot of experiences over the years
Mm-hmm.
that have been difficult, but I choose not to
Mm-hmm.
talk about that. I talk about that with my friends, with my
Yeah.
doctor, with my husband. And that's because one day I never know if Justin may get on that page. And
That's
all I
right.
want him to see is good, all
That's
the good
right.
in him. And that's what I want others to see.
Yeah.
So many
Exactly.
years growing up,
Exactly.
I got negative feedback, and I'm like, I
Right.
want to see positive. Yes, I want to
Exactly.
hear what we need to work on because
Right.
that's important to work on goals. But it's
Mm-hmm.
also important to um, self-esteem. Self-esteem
That's
is a
right.
big thing for me. A big thing for me with
That's right.
Justin. He's got enough. He's got enough struggles.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to point out all the good that
Yeah.
everybody sees. So
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah,
So that would be a good part to continue with our topic of cooking and baking today.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, that is, okay. So I have a very picky eater because he's a sensory
yeah,
eater, right?
yeah,
So for parents here who have kids with adventurous palates, I am super jealous because
yeah.
that is not us.
Justin doesn't have an adventurous palate. He's a
Oh, there
very
you
picky
go.
eater.
Right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's not, you and I agree, it's not because of lack of trying. You know, over the
No.
years, we tried so hard using like a little bribe, you know,
Yep.
like desensitization and small exposures to new foods. And I know parents who have ABA therapists, that's one of the goals, you know, trying new
Mhm.
foods that ABA therapists work on, you know. So believe us when we say, you know, kids and young adults who are picky, it's not because they don't want to try new foods, they're not able to, you know.
They're not able to, and it's also a part of
Mm-hmm.
routine. It's,
Mm-hmm.
it's the only thing that they control in their day. Lots of times,
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Justin is
yes,
a
yes.
very, very picky eater. Like he lives on
Same.
pizza. Honestly,
Really?
pizza and popcorn chicken. So cooking has not
Uh-huh.
opened up the palate for his mouth. It has allowed us to
Mm-hmm.
do something together in the kitchen.
Right.
He moves a lot, so we
Mm-hmm.
accommodate movement.
Yeah.
That's how he learns, and we understand that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll pull him back over. He'll be roaming around in the kitchen, and I'll be like, "Okay, I'm ready for you to add this."
Yeah.
And when I have his attention, then
Mm-hmm.
so we accommodate.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes he'll try things, and other times he won't. But the
Yeah.
main thing to me is that we're doing something together. You know,
Exactly. That is so beautifully put. It's an
yeah,
opportunity to really connect. So a lot of parents actually become anxious
mhm,
when they're cooking or baking with their autistic family members because
yeah,
they want to have dinner ready at the table at 7. If that's your goal,
mhm,
that is not a good time to
yeah,
practice cooking,
of
right?
course,
Yeah.
yeah,
So just pick. So tip number 1 is to choose time when you can relax. You
yeah,
can think about it as a project and you can take breaks in between. Now, cooking together, it's great because you move anyways naturally
mhm,
within your perimeters of your kitchen. So there is a bit of sensory break and you have to gather the tools and so on. So that's actually a great opportunity for our kids. So
yeah,
my son and I watch YouTube videos and
Mm-hmm.
cooking shows. And it's very interesting because he won't eat those foods that are created by
Mm-hmm.
master chefs, but he's interested in the process. Isn't that? I don't know
Yes.
if yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the same thing. Justin won't even sit down and watch cooking shows.
Ah,
So, so he's not even interested in that part of cooking. I
yeah.
think it's just the he enjoys the time together and the
Yeah.
helping.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll teach him measurements, and here you measure this, or
Amazing.
cracking an egg.
Yeah.
He can
Yeah.
crack an egg.
Yeah.
He knows how to use a toaster. He knows how to use a
Yeah.
microwave.
Yeah.
He knows
Yeah.
how to use an oven, and we talk
Mm-hmm.
about safety.
Mm-hmm.
Now with cutting utensils, we started with plastic.
Yeah.
Now we just made an apple pie last week,
Mm-hmm.
and he used a steel knife, and I'm always in the
Mm-hmm.
kitchen with him.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn to kind of step back and
Yes.
allow him to try things as long as I know, it's safe and we've worked on these things. I
Mm-hmm.
have, with everything with
Yeah.
Justin, he's quite independent. And I know a
Yeah.
lot of people, when they look at him,
Yeah.
they don't see what he knows
Oh, he
because
knows a lot.
he's
Yeah.
limited verbally.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do not discourage our children who are limited verbally, because
Mm-hmm.
if people look at Justin, they would never know what he can
Mm-hmm.
do.
Yeah.
And he's
Exactly.
very
Exactly.
independent,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
So your time together with Justin has gradually evolved to helping him feel good
Yes.
about cooking and baking and creating something with you, creating something in his own way, and being able to take care of himself someday.
Yes.
So I told my son that, okay, if you're gonna only eat a handful of foods, like 5 times,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to make it yourself.
Yeah.
So he knows how to
Yeah.
do box mac and cheese
Yeah.
and a few things like putting chicken nuggets in the oven, those
Yeah.
kind of things. Make
That's
popcorn.
our children,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, that's it.
yeah,
They have it's very common.
yeah,
We both know that it's
yeah,
very
yeah.
common with autistic individuals and sensory processing.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said, it's not for lack of effort.
Right.
When people hear Justin
Mm-hmm.
can cook, it's
Mm-hmm.
not that he wants to try the food.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the, showing self-pride and, look, Mom,
Right.
I've cracked an egg. He can't
Yeah,
tell me he's cracked an egg, but his
yeah,
smile is
yeah,
huge. And that's
yeah.
communication,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
See,
So,
Justin is ahead of my kid because he still won't crack an egg.
yes.
You
And
see
he's
what I
also
mean?
got, but he's got the sensory, right? Yeah. But
Yeah.
Justin wipes his hands on his shirt after he's done. So we still got to work on that.
Okay.
He doesn't
That's
like to
okay.
cook very often
Yeah,
either.
I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
It's
we
okay.
work on it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
Yeah.
amazing. You're right. As parents, we can't help it but being a helicopter parent. I'm
Yes.
trying to lend my helicopter every day. Okay, lend your
Mm-hmm.
helicopter,
Yeah.
because when we give our kids some space, they really then take ownership of making decisions, and
Yeah.
as long as they're safe, I think we have to let them do that, right?
Well, that's a part of autonomy, right?
Yeah,
When people are
yeah,
controlling your life, especially when
yeah.
they're little, when
Mm-hmm,
when you're controlling their life as
mm-hmm,
parents,
mm-hmm.
I had to learn back. And now I didn't do this very. I was the helicopter parent when he was little because I had to
Yeah,
be. It was
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of issues, a lot, and so
Mm-hmm,
we've worked very hard. Now he's 16, and for the last few years, when he's doing well, this is when we work on those goals. So when we take
mm-hmm,
him to the grocery store, because he moves a lot,
mm-hmm.
and I allow movement, but what I do is to engage him is now he's starting to be able to, push the shopping cart without kind of running into things. So that was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
goal we had to work on.
Mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm,
in the grocery store, what we do is I'm allowing him to push the cart, and then he gets
mm-hmm,
involved with what we're doing at the grocery store. So now we
mm-hmm,
have a routine. He knows we'll pick up a container of fruit. So he'll
yeah.
pick that up, and then, he always loves his apples and his oranges, and, we get
Mm-hmm,
bananas. And so sometimes I will write out a list. Most times I will. But there
mm-hmm.
are the things that he needs at all times that are his go-to foods, which
Yeah.
are not the best, but they're his go-to foods. And one of them is the pepperoni sticks, So
Oh,
when we
yeah.
get to that area, he wanders off on his own and he grabs what he needs to do.
Great.
And I allow
Yeah,
that, as
yeah,
long as I can
yeah,
see him.
yeah.
And we've had, a few times we've had to have the conversation where he's kind of wandered off and my
Right.
heart just and I
Drops,
still
yeah.
need to take it, and I'm, looking over and I'm like, okay, Cindy, just breathe, because I almost feel like I'm going to have a panic attack. And when I find him, I say, you can't wander off on your own.
Yeah.
I know he understands. So I
Yeah.
tell him, it's safety. Mom wants you to
Right.
stay with me. We can shop together. We can get the things that you wanted to get, and we'll do it together. Right? Because right now he's
Exactly.
not ready to kind of go off on his own, and I'm not ready
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. Right, right, right. So let me
Yeah.
just recap what you just said, because that
Yeah.
was an important point. I
Yes.
think many parents don't or struggle with setting boundaries. And
Yeah.
I always say that it's important to say boundaries, but also in a way that we provide context for our kids. So when there is an incident like that, when they wander off, you don't want to just chase after them and say no, right? But you want to explain to them, why and how. When they wander off, they make us feel really, really worried. So to tell them also how their actions cause us to feel. It's a
Yeah.
two-way street, because autistic people don't really naturally stop and think about the context, and also how what they say and do affect other people. So you just summarize that very, very well, that you have to, they learn through the boundaries we set, but we have to set the boundaries in a way that it becomes a learning experience for them instead of something negative.
Well, and it doesn't help children, because if he's wandering off to look for his pepperoni in the next aisle,
Yeah.
and I run after him and I tell him no, well,
Yeah.
he's doing what he's supposed to do.
Right.
He wants to go look for pepperoni.
He wants his
So,
pepperoni.
yeah, or
Yeah.
whatever it is in the next
Yeah.
aisle that he's gone
Yeah.
ahead. So,
Yeah.
I want to encourage that independence.
Yes.
But at the same time, I want to be able to say, Mom was really worried because I couldn't see you.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
he needs advice. Our children need to know why. No is not a good enough answer.
No.
And I learned that very early on. No is not the answer. You need to go into, whether your child is verbal, nonverbal, just start talking and continue. Don't make it a lot, but say, why? Why do I,
Right.
because he was doing the right thing if he's wandering off to go get something that's on the list.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
He's probably thinking, what? I'm just getting my pepperoni. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what he's thinking, right?
Yeah.
But he doesn't understand, it's not just the pepperoni that's
Yeah.
an issue. So I think for parents here, when your children do not verbally speak yet, we always want to keep working on the understanding part. And when incidents like this happen, you wait until everybody's calm and you recap and do it in a neutral voice, calm, so that it can be registered both ways. I think it needs to be a learning experience for both people in order for it to stick, because otherwise we tend to just repeat ourselves and the same incidents happen. Right.
And the children don't understand. I mean, your child's not going to understand if you know at them because they've taken off, but they don't know what they're getting in trouble for. So we do learn an explanation, because that's how they're going to learn. And that is how Justin has learned. So, it's, that's where I've come from. I explain everything. And I've actually seen where we've avoided meltdowns because I've given him a why. With his noise, he has problems in the kitchen, with emptying the dishwasher, the clinking and the clanking of dishes. So now I give him the choice if he can do it, but before I do it, I also say, Mom is going to empty the dishwasher, or Mom is going to clean dishes. You can either put your headphones on, or you can take a break in your room. I tell him ahead of time, and then he chooses what he wants to do. Because in the past, he's grabbed at me. He's physically, you can see the pain in his face, and maybe times I wasn't as aware as I am now, and he physically grabbed at me. And, now I'm like, okay, this hurts. It physically hurts, and I can see it in his face. In the kitchen, I actually made a video one time on my blog, on my page, of me emptying the dishwasher. And I just put my phone on the counter, and I emptied the dishwasher, and I put it on my page, and I'm like, just listen. Just listen to what you're hearing. And I listen to it myself, and I'm like, oh, clinking and clanking and dropping spoons and forks, and it was overwhelming for me. And a lot of
Yeah,
people
yeah,
commented.
yeah, exactly. I cannot
People
handle
need to
that,
go through it.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, I really appreciate it because I cook by myself
Mm-hmm.
most of the time.
Yeah.
And then for the cleaning part after dinner, my husband will take over and I leave because I
Yeah.
cannot handle the noise. It really hurts my ears. So
Yeah.
as an adult, I can choose my problem solving but for the little ones, the noise, like two plates banging together, it just really startles
Mm-hmm.
our kids, and it hurts their ears. So I can totally understand that. So empower your kids to be able to
Yes.
problem solve it. So you can give them a preview. Okay, I'm about to wash the dishes now or unload the dishes. So you can, yeah, that's what you were saying. So provide
Yeah.
choices and let them choose what will be the best way, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it sounds like, Cindy, you still in a gentle way help them to get to participate in
Yes.
their own ways. So we don't want to give up.
Mm.
So the
No.
the message here for parents: just because it doesn't work the first time, it doesn't mean we give up. That's a very important message, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Patience. Lots and lots of patience. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I treat Justin like I want somebody to treat me.
Mm-hmm.
That's how
Right.
I'm raising. That's how my husband and
Right.
I are raising our children. I also
Right.
have a daughter who she works with
Yes.
adults with disabilities,
Yes.
and we treat them. I've treated them both like I want them to
Mm-hmm.
have independence. Just because Justin is autistic
Yeah,
doesn't mean he can't be independent.
that's right.
We all know as parents of children with special needs that one day our fear, we may not be here.
Right.
And my planning right now, and I started very young with Justin, was okay, if I'm not here, what do I need to help him to do?
Yeah.
And right now he's 16.
Yeah.
This year we unschooled him. Unschooling means that we have taken him right out of school. I'm a full-time caregiver.
Right.
So 3 days a week he goes to day program, and 2 days a week he's at home with me.
Yeah.
And part of cooking, what we're working on, which is fantastic, the day program has said they could go through flyers and make up lists with him and look at recipes with him,
Yeah.
and then look at different
Awesome.
things like that, lists. And then on Thursdays and Fridays, if we want to make something, then me and Justin can go to the grocery store and
Yeah.
pick out those things.
Yeah.
He's getting what he wasn't, unfortunately, in school. And that's the option
Right.
of more one-on-one and movement. He couldn't move in school, and we often hear kids are disruptive, but disruptive, why?
Mm-hmm. Well,
Why? Because
he
they
learns
move to
differently.
learn.
Yeah.
Yes,
But he
yeah,
learns differently. He's a kinesthetic learner, and
yeah,
he learns by doing. And
yeah,
when we cook, we juggle so many things. We multi-process all the time when we cook
yes.
and bake. So it's actually a very, very good practice in terms
Mm-hmm.
of mind-body connection, and also developing that muscle memory when it comes to cook. After this, I do this. And then if you get sidetracked, you have to come back. But if mom's
Yeah,
telling me, hey, do this, then you'll always relying on other people to tell you what to do, which is very dangerous,
yeah.
you guys. For parents here, don't do that, because they're gonna grow up thinking, well, I'll just wait here until somebody tells me what to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And with enough practice and somebody to believe in you, it's possible.
it's totally possible.
Justin moves, and I allow that movement, and when I want him to come back and measure something, I'm like, okay, you have to come back. I mean, I don't say, okay, that's it, I'm giving up. I mean, there's days when I've had bad days. Yes, I'm human.
Sure.
But what I want to really show him is patience, so that I'm modeling patience with him, and then he will learn patience himself.
Exactly.
Important.
Yeah, you're such a good mama.
Everything is a teaching. Everything is a teaching tool. Everything is a teaching opportunity.
Everyone is teachable, especially when you have parents who understands that you're also still learning through your family member. That's the mindset, So, anyways, let's go back to your favorite recipe. So I know now he loves pizza. So walk us through your pizza project. What does that look like?
Okay, our pizza project, most times it's buying a pizza, frozen pizza from the grocery store. But it's not healthy. right? So
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do is do healthier recipes. So
Yeah.
now what we do is we buy a multi-grain bread, and
Okay.
we put a little pizza sauce on it and some
Mm-hmm.
light mozzarella cheese.
Mm.
And he, turns the oven on and sticks it in the oven, and that's
Mm-hmm.
his pizza. It's better
Mm.
than the homemade bought pizzas because it's a
Yeah.
multi-grain bread, or
Right.
or
Right. Right. Right.
whole
Right.
wheat bread.
Right.
And I'm trying to, because he's a picky eater, trying to expose him to things that are still his liking, but are a little bit healthier for him, right?
Sure.
I
Sure.
mean,
Sure.
honestly, most kids love the pizza, the chicken nuggets, the
Mm-hmm.
processed stuff. That's a lot of times that is autism. That comes
Yeah.
with the sensory. I mean,
That comes
that's
with the package because it's the
yeah, and I think
consistent food. Consistent
yeah,
food. Yeah.
it's consistent,
Texture
and
wise. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
textures, and
Mm-hmm.
it's flavors and smells, and like the
Yeah.
kitchen can be very overwhelming,
Right.
and
Right.
and controlling what other people are eating. Like at
Mm-hmm.
school, he would have
Yeah.
meltdowns because he'd
Yeah.
be in the learning commons with a bunch of children who are eating things that
Right.
the smell was,
Yeah.
and he can't escape because he has to stay with the EAs.
Right.
So that's where
Right.
I'm seeing kids have meltdowns, because if they're in with
Yeah.
other students who are having something that they don't like, that
Yeah.
maybe they can hear them eating, or they can
Mm-hmm.
smell what they're eating and they can't escape it. That's
Right.
where you see many meltdowns.
Yeah, and that's also why a lot of autistic students do not eat at school
Yeah.
because of all these things you just
Yeah.
described. It's just so overwhelming. You can't enjoy what your own food, because you're
Yeah.
just so overwhelming, right? So,
Yeah.
pizza is not my son's thing. He tells me it's
Okay.
because it looks slimy. It
Okay.
looks
Yeah.
slimy. I don't like the smell. I don't like the texture. I don't like to touch it. It's all of it. So all of these sensory stimuli, when it comes to pizza, for my kid, it doesn't work. But for Justin, it's the opposite. So
Yes.
everyone's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So if you have a bread machine, that's also a
Yeah.
fun way to experiment, because if he likes dough,
Yeah.
you can get him involved in the process, and he doesn't have to touch anything, and he knows how to push buttons.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
have like a very cheap like bread machine, and that's a
Hmm.
good activity to just follow recipe and put everything in there, and
Yeah.
then the dough, you can make different shape. You can make focaccia,
Yeah.
flatbread, of course you
Yeah.
can make pizza, you can make buns,
Yeah.
and you can put cheese inside the bun instead of on
Yeah.
top. It's just variations. I think for our kids it's really good. But I always say to my kids, you help me make it, you don't have to eat it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's
I agree. And I
Mhm.
think that the thing is, we need to remember that we want to connect with our children.
Sure.
And if food in the kitchen, whether they're eating it or not, if that is a
Mhm.
connection, it's a connection. And
Right,
that's what I'm
right.
using right now for Justin. It's going to the grocery store together. It's,
Mhm.
him helping me measuring things. And
Mhm.
the end process of whatever we come up with is
Yeah.
his face is beaming with pride, whether he tries it or not.
Aw.
Because
Exactly.
it's
That's not.
fall.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because it's
yeah,
fall. We're like, okay,
yeah,
I'm going to think
yeah,
in the themes. We've
yeah,
gone a couple times to the apple farms, and we've got
yeah.
apples.
Hmm.
He doesn't care to pick the apples, but that's okay. He
Right.
wanders around, and I pick the
Hmm.
apples. And then we've
Hmm.
made our first apple pie this year,
Hmm.
and first time I've ever made an apple pie
Hmm.
myself. And we made another time we made apple crisp. And
Hmm.
he was like, we go up to our trailers a lot on the weekends, and he's like, bring
Hmm.
it up to the trailer. And I'm like, yeah, let's bring it up to the trailer.
Yeah,
So he showed great pride. And then, when
yeah,
dad comes home, I'm always, let's show dad
yeah,
what we
yeah,
made.
yeah, yeah.
And it's amazing if your children like to cook,
Yes.
they just are interested in being in the kitchen. It's
Yeah.
just a way to connect.
Oh, I know. It's such an amazing opportunity for so many things related to employability,
Yeah, yeah,
skills, actually being able to read instructions, being able to gather things,
yeah,
being able to use your resilience, to
yeah.
push through, get back on track, being able to ask for help if you can't
Yeah.
find something,
Hmm.
so many good things when it comes to cooking and baking together, and being able to like produce something on your own.
And I think sometimes we have to get past as parents maybe feeling embarrassed about something. So for example, we went to the grocery store one time and he wanted to get pizza sauce on the highest shelf. So when he went to grab it, all the cans fell down, but they fell down backwards. And I'm like, there's no way I can reach them. So he was not leaving and he was trying to climb the shelves, and he's tall. He's 16 and he's a big boy. And I'm like, you know, that's not safe. But I was not getting him away from there. So what I did instead was I'm like, okay, you can do it. So I took him to somebody that worked there, and I found the tallest guy I could.
Yes.
And I'm like, excuse me. I said, my son can't get something on the shelf. And I said, it's really upsetting him that he likes things that are in order. So could you fix it for us so that he can move on? And he did. The man did. And, you know, that to me is a teaching opportunity, because now he's looking, you know. The other guy was like, okay, this is, you know, I said, my son is autistic, and I said, he likes order, and, you know, and I thought, here is a teaching opportunity for somebody who may be not even aware of it. But he, no problem. He helped me and fixed it, and away we went. And I got Justin to say thank you and, you know, say, can you help me? Like, because when he's in the grocery store, say, with somebody else, and he's able to go off on his own, then he can now maybe ask for help. Something high on the shelf.
Yeah, exactly. So that is a very, very important, keep in mind, Cindy, for other parents here. Unpredictability in this world is just given. The moment you hop out of bed, you know, as I think as adults, we know we're not afraid because we have many, many templates. Previously through our parents or just our life experiences, and remembering that we were guided at some point and we know how to instinctively like overcome, right? And for autistic kids, because I think parents and adults around them tend to fix things for them, right? So we're always walking on eggshells. Right? That's how we feel, because we want to avoid the meltdowns and the aggressive behaviors and so on. So we're protecting our kids. And you just gave an example of, look, accidents happen, but it's no big deal. You know, and do your best to fix it, but you could do this. It doesn't, it's not about finding the right answer.
Yes.
You know,
it's about
exactly.
And I started that very young with Justin, because we would have meltdowns. I'm like, okay, but you know, he can't, you know, I don't want him having a meltdown every time, because I know how painful it can be for him. I know the anxiety it creates. I have anxiety myself. And like I said, I treat him like as if it's myself and how I would feel. And so for me, coping skills are huge. And that's of, you know, if we can't control something, how can we cope with it? How can we become flexible? And that was done in sports when he was young, when he would have, you know, forget something at school and have a meltdown. And I would say, okay, like try to explain in words that, you know, it's like it's lost. Is it, you know, something's lost is a big thing to try to explain to a child. If it's a favorite thing. And before I used to just go out and buy it. But I got to the point where like, this is not always going to happen. He might be with somebody at school and he loses something. So how is he going to deal with that? So, you know, coping skills is huge, and flexibility.
Huge, but coping skills and remembering to regroup, slow down when accidents happen. And this is why working in the kitchen is great, because accidents always happen. You know, you always spill, you always do that. It's just naturally when we cook and bake. So it's actually a good vehicle for our kids to, one, notice, oh, there's a little flub there. Do I want to take care of it now, or do I want to take care of it at the end? You know, there's no right answers, isn't it? So you just do the best that you can, you know, and that's so important. So, so for parents here, do cooking projects, do simple things. So Cindy did a smart thing by just do ready-made pizza if you want, or if for the chicken nugget eaters, start by getting your kids involved and putting the nugget pieces onto the baking sheet, getting them. It's not like when Cindy and I talk about cooking, it doesn't mean that it's actually cooking. It's just getting them involved in the process.
And
a little bit at a time.
A little bit at a time. Yeah, if it's adding in the salt this time, and or or
Yes.
adding whatever you're making, if it's one little
Yes.
step, and then you can
Yes.
keep on pulling them back, and if they're showing an interest,
Yeah.
steps, baby steps,
Exactly.
when children who are maybe younger or those who are deemed nonverbal, when
Yeah.
Justin was younger, I used to use
Yeah.
visuals. So
Yeah.
now we're with writing, but before it used to be a picture of whatever it was with a box beside it, so that when
Yeah.
we put that
Yes.
into the bowl, then I got him to check it off so that
Yeah.
he knew
Yeah.
that we put that in the
Yeah.
bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Visuals are
Yes.
important as well.
Yeah. Making it visuals. So and having that visual available as they're cooking with you, it's really helpful. So they can keep their eyes on the prize. That's really important. Another tip I have is to always connect now to past experiences. So there are elements of cooking that are similar to other experiences. So for kids who know how to use a paintbrush, for example, when you put pizza sauce on the dough using a brush, you can tell your kid, hey, this reminds me of you painting on a canvas at
Yes.
school.
Yep.
This reminds me of our art project, because it's
Yep.
same but different.
That's
So for
right.
parents here, yeah.
It's imagination.
Exactly.
When you're cooking,
Exactly.
you can make it. You can use your imagination. If
Exactly.
you want to try some healthy things we haven't done yet, but I'm thinking in my
Yeah.
head it could be something.
Yeah. Yeah.
When parents make pancakes,
Yeah.
and you make a happy face out of two little
Exactly.
slices of banana. If you wanted them to try banana or blueberries, or
Right.
Justin doesn't
Right.
Justin doesn't eat vegetables. He doesn't eat much fruit.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think I'm losing you here. Just a minute.
Oh, I'm here. Hello?
Sorry, somebody came on my screen.
Oh, that's fine.
I was just
Yeah.
distracted.
Yeah, so that using a paintbrush is really good to putting sauce on the food, and also marinating. So I had pictures of my son when he was younger actually marinating salmon, a piece of salmon, using a paintbrush. So you can get kids involved in baking and cooking without actually them realizing I'm actually cooking something. It's the process that's important, and it's not the end results.
That's right. And it's, another great way to get kids involved, especially if they're nonverbal, is have those pecs or the pictures of, say, you need milk in it, right? So say you need milk, have a picture of the milk, and then say, look, I need milk. Look at the picture. Right. Can you go to the fridge and find the milk?
Yes.
And, that's interaction. It's speech. It's OT because you're moving, I mean, there's so many things that you incorporate in your day that I used to get lost and think, okay, therapy, he's not getting therapy, or he's not getting interaction. Whereas every single moment of the day is interaction. It's natural.
Exactly. So last tip for parents here. So for people with sensory processing difficulties and central auditory processing issues, so it's really hard for us to understand spoken words, because we're like constantly processing sensory stimuli, and we can't filter out all the stimuli to shift to mom talking to me, right? So I do that all the time. My husband will say something, I'll go like, what did you say? Can you repeat? So when you're cooking, remember, it's such a complex process and there are multi-steps. So what you can do is rely on the visuals and reduce your talking to just always show first. Always show first, using pictures, and just calmly and quietly use your gestures to model. You can point, you can say, watch mommy first. So if you show, they understand, because that's how I process. I don't process people talking to me.
Okay.
And when they repeat, that makes me anxious. It's funny because I repeat myself. Okay. But that's a good keep in mind, I think, for people to, when they're cooking, to just reduce your verbal noise.
And processing time. I mean, if you're choosing to use a verbal or whatever you're choosing as a form of communication, make sure you allow that person processing time. Right? I've had to really step back and allow that, okay, I'm going to say something, and then I'm going to pause. And then I see him moving around. And then sometimes the answer for him will come out or he'll get involved. And other
Right.
times I'm like, okay, I think I need to repeat again, maybe a different way.
Yeah.
So processing is very important for people to realize that it's not
yeah.
that someone's ignoring you because they don't want to take part. It's they're maybe haven't processed the, you know, the request that you've made for a certain part of the recipe.
They don't understand. Yeah.
They don't understand.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to open it up for a couple of questions. Do you guys have any questions for Cindy? This is great, Cindy. I'm going to extract the recording and I'm going to upload it into YouTube, put our information on there, and I'll give you the link, and then you can just copy and paste the link.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. I'll share it on my page. And
yeah, this is awesome. Yeah.
Well, you know, and it's like it's very important to find more positivity and move forward. You know, this is what I'm trying to do to move our, you know, our kids forward. This is what I'm trying to do for my son specifically, is make it a healthy environment and not point out. I wouldn't want anybody pointing out all the negative stuff about me. And I, you know, as a parent, that's why I do what I do for Justin, because I wouldn't want it done to me. So that's why I created a positive-based page, because I want to be a part of a movement where we're showing empathy, compassion, kindness, respect, and we need to get back to those basics to understand that, you know, autism, neurodiversity, mental health. We need to end the stigma and start talking openly about, you know, differences.
Yeah, exactly. And empathy goes both ways. Right.
It does.
So it can't just be about like wanting our neurodivergent child to change and come into our world. It's really about double empathy, and the process, it's on us as parents to initiate that. You know, initiate respect, compassion, love. Yeah.
And oftentimes I think, you know, I'm very involved with both communities. I'm a neurotypical parent, Justin's autistic. So I try not to get lost in a lot of the language that goes on or people's opinions, because everyone's entitled to their but what I want to see is, if my son is old enough to advocate and get out on pages or whatever, I want him to be able to go onto a parent's page and say, this is how I felt. And have a parent say, okay, I understand. Like, because maybe one day this could happen to our children, where they're popping on pages and people putting them down and arguing with them. And it works both ways.
Yeah.
But in my mindset, that's how I see it. If I'm like, if my child is going to pop onto a page or become an advocate as he gets older, I want him to be able to advocate for himself and be respected.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both ways. You know, there's a lot of anger up there. I mean, we're getting away from the cooking portion of it. Maybe we can make another. I did a talk with
we should. But you just point out something really important. You know, cooking and baking, these are just not activities or a vehicle to build skills, but it's really a canvas for us as parents to interact and spotlight our child's competence, and really teaching our kids, you know, when I can do this by myself, when I am loved, this is how it feels. So at home, we can provide that safe, nurturing environment, because out there in the world, Cindy, we can't protect our kids. But a lot of these young adults, they're not in an health. They're constantly in an unhealthy relationships because they never grew up like knowing, oh, I feel good when I'm with my parents, you know, with my sister, brother, you know, this is how, there's no contrast, right? So this is why it's not just cooking and baking. It's so important. It's so important, right?
And so that should be another talk for us.
We should. Oh my gosh, I have goosebumps.
I'm so up to it.
So this is so good. We have to do it again. I would love to have you as a regular guest. We could.
I would love that.
Yeah, just different topics.
I would love it.
You know.
This
Thank you guys.
Created.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Jude. Jude just popped in. Jude is from Ireland, and I can't, you know, thank you, everyone. Anita, for all of you guys who have joined us. So I'm going to upload this, and thank you so much, Cindy.
Thank you, Mason.
All right, bye-bye.
You too. Take care. Bye.
Bye.